Welcome back to the Tech Shack to another low quality video. Today I finally built the server I've been teasing for months now. I'd actually built this out with an i5-6500 and we're waiting for one more part to come in, and in the meantime he ended up changing his mind and completely upgraded his main desktop, and we're going to use his Ryzen 9 and some of the other parts from his old desktop in here. So we have this Dell Alienware. Alright, right there is actually the service tag if you want to grab it and see all the specs that were originally in it. But it was a liquid cooled first gen i7 with 120mm AIO. That's going to come into place in a minute here. And the main reason why he wanted to use this case for a server is this right here. These are all SATA ports. All toolless drives. So I'm going to show the front before I show the inside, I guess. So this was actually the part we're originally waiting for. This will let me give him USB 3 for front, since this has like eSATA, USB 2, and FireWire. Show how old it is as FireWire. This was what was originally in there. He's not going to need that because he's just basically using this as a Plex server and for some basic AI. Alright. Now there is a proprietary 1000 watt power supply in there. I could have pulled it out and actually just found a way to mount one of our standard modular power supplies in there. But there is a daughter board in there that runs the power for all the SATA ports. And I didn't want to mess with that and have to figure out how to do that manually. We have SATA extension, so I don't have to rerun cables through the casing. So all the SATA is going to work. Everything's going to work with the existing 1000 watt power supply, which should be plenty for this build. Oh, and as I mentioned earlier with the liquid cooler, this thing actually has, see if I could do this while I'm holding this little tray here where we can mount the 120mm or the 240mm. I had a 120. We're going to mount a 240mm AIO in here. Alright, so we're going to have that AIO. So we have a B550 Asus ROG Strix motherboard, 256GB NVMe SSD, Ryzen 3900X, so 12 cores, 24 threads, a Zen 2, because 1000 series was Zen 1, 2000 series was Zen Plus, 3000 series was Zen 2, 64GB of RAM at 3200. Yes, I can hold 3200 with all 4 sticks with that CPU. And 2 4TB HSGT UltraStar hard drives. So the only thing that makes me feel trepidatious is these hard drives. These were from the same batch from Worldwide Distributor that my drives that just failed came from. But the beautiful thing about that case is I can set this up with the RAID 1, have him all set up, and then he can go in and drop a few more drives in. And even if he has issues setting up the software RAID with the Windows drive management, I can remote into his computer from here and do all the software stuff. So with that case being all toolless, a novice like him can drop in new drives and expand his array. And if he does need my help, I don't have to leave the house to do it, which is going to be pretty good. And then of course this NVIDIA P102 graphics card, same one that's in my server down here, my little green machine, my AI and NAS and Plex and everything server. And so yeah, he's actually stepping past me, same amount of RAM. His is faster DDR4 because mine's ECC DDR4. I have a 16 core 32 thread Xeon, V4 Xeon, but he has Ryzen 9, so even though he's giving up a few more cores than I do, he's going to have better single core performance, and that's probably just going to absolutely destroy my processor. So he now has a better server than me, although with my 2 new 8TB drives, I have more storage. Alright, yep, so let's get this guy all together. He is going to be running Windows Server 2022. I know, sound off in the comments about what an idiot I am for running Windows Server in a home lab, but for a novice like Jeffy, this is going to be something really easy for him to pick up and learn. And with Docker for Windows and automated Docker containers, it's just going to make things really simple for him. So he's going to have all of his home lab stuff that he wants, his Plex. He's going to have to start dabbling in Home Assistant and all the stuff he wants to do and pick it up really easy on an interface that he's used to. All right, but again, that's enough rambling. Let's get this guy put together. And of course, there wouldn't be a Jeffy project if something went wrong. Initially, it wouldn't post, but that's because the temporary graphics card we were going to use for him wasn't working. So I was able to go through and get him a different one. So he has the W2100 Radeon card for video out, and then the P102 for AI and video encoding and all that. The hard drive bays, I didn't have to use the extensions on the hard drive bays. I did with the old server we were going to build in here with the i5 6500 because of where those SATA ports were. But these ones, all the cables reached. I did have to use the extensions for the optical drive and the eSATA port up top. Cable management in this case I know is atrocious, but you're not going to be able to see it. And then this door is going to close right here, this little guy, and cover most of this. That graphics card I put in only had display port, so I'm going to have to move it over to the other bench to finish setting everything up, get the software set up, get Windows Server on. But as of right now, it is all posting and attempting to boot. Alright, but let's get it all tidied up, moved over to the other bench, and get Windows Server installed on it and start configuring all the software. Alright, I got this moved over to this bench. I got everything tidied up as best I can. I got this kind of half-ass zip tied as a vertical mount. This fan that they have installed in the front of here moves a ton of air, and then this thing kind of ducks the air right over everything, so it actually works pretty good. This case, for how old it is actually pretty nice and makes one hell of a server. All the drives that he has installed so far recognize the add-in cards, even seen in by the BIOS, so you could boot off the add-in card, which is kind of nice. Well, yeah, let's get the Windows installed and get everything configured now, and then I'll get the other door back on.
So, I thought drivers were going to be easy. Boy, was I wrong. Neither Asus or AMD have an official chipset installer for Windows Server, just Windows Desktop, so the AMD chipset driver and Armory Crate both failed to install. Windows Update has nothing, but the AMD chipset driver did download the files, it just failed to install them. So going through Device Manager one by one and pointing them to the chipset driver folder worked fine for the most part. Even third-party tools like 3D P-Chip were no help. And to make matters worse, the 2.5 gig NIC is an Intel card with its own Asus firmware, so Intel's driver tool won't detect it, and the Asus driver won't install in Windows Server. Right now I am using a USB 3 NIC to remote in and download everything. After wasting a half an hour on the network card issues, I moved on to the NVIDIA P102 card we are using for AI, CUDA, and Plex encoding. To do so with a mining card requires the hacked driver we host. The driver uses an exploit requires you disable all security in Windows before downloading. In Windows Desktop, after you download the driver, you have to disconnect from the internet before running. But Windows Server does not have all the telemetry found on Windows Desktop, so disconnecting from the internet is not required on Server. Once the driver is successfully installed, you can re-enable all security. The fix for the onboard Intel NIC was to just force the killer 2.5 gig NIC drivers to install in Device Manager. The drivers worked, were stable, and provided full speed, so I considered that a success. Now on to the NAS and AI stuff. So first I'm going to download Docker for desktop. This, along with WSL2, is going to allow us to run Docker containers in Windows with a full management UI. Once Docker is installed, update WSL2 in command prompt if you haven't already. Then I downloaded Olama for Windows. Once that completes, we run a single PowerShell command to automate the installation of the Web UI Docker container. Finally, I open disk management and adopt the RAID 1 volumes from his previous server. Resyncing the mirror will take a few hours. I do not know Jeffy's Plex login information, and I am unsure how he wants to set up his network shares, so I will leave the rest to him.
Alright, so this server is all done and all put together. It has USB 3 added to the front. He has his Blu-ray drive so he can rip Blu-rays. I got everything set up to where it needs to be for him to take it and take it over from here, so I didn't do all the detailed setup. I don't know his Plex login, and I'm still actually waiting for it to resync his RAID, so those two drives, Windows was able to adopt it from his previous server, so now we're just waiting on to verify that the two drives are synced, and he should be all set to go. And again, if he gets stuck, he's on a platform I can remote in right from here and fix it. And it's a platform that he is already comfortable with, being a Windows user his whole life. Alright, but that is it for this low quality video. I will see you guys in the next one.